It's still morning. So good morning, Knicks Nation. I've been busy today with my day job, which I still got to get back to, but I wanted to follow up on last night's game against the Magic, which we did lose when we had a chance to go to 500. But there were many things in that game that I want to address, or at least a few important things, put it that way. We don't have time to go into everything. But before I do, blessings to you. I hope everyone is COVID free today. I hope you're healthy. And if you're sick, I hope you're getting better. Double blessings on those that are helping you get better in the healthcare field, whether they're working in nursing homes or hospitals or other facilities, and they're home attendants that are trying to help people cope with sickness in life, older people, young people, people that are sick, and then oftentimes risking their own lives, doctors and nurses and home attendants and nurses assistants and physicians assistants to help people get better and get healthy. Double blessings on them. Blessings also to those that deliver garbage in the midst of this weather and of this COVID. Double blessings on those that deliver food. Double blessings on those that are trying to go ahead and find and rescue little boys and little girls and teenagers that are caught up in sex rings and sex trade operations, and curses upon all the perverts out there that creates this market. Blessings also on those working in the homeless shelters and trying to help the homeless, of which in the United States alone, that's not even including places like the UK or other parts of the world, but in the United States alone, there are 500,000 men, women, and children that are homeless. A lot of them also are veterans that have fought for this country and are treated like crap, and they're homeless. Okay, so double blessings on those helping the homeless and on the homeless themselves. That being said, there was a basketball game last night. The New York Knicks played against the Orlando Magic in Orlando. I learned something last night that I didn't really fully understand before. Okay, two things. One, I really did understand, but it became crystal clear last night. Number one, Tom Thibodeau is not having "I'm tired" as an excuse. He's not having "I'm gassed" as an excuse. He's just not doing it. Okay, so that's not part of his vocabulary or excuse, reason thing. So when they interviewed him after the game and they were asking did you have the energy and spirit? Basically saying, were your guys just tired? He wasn't buying it. Which leads me to two. He depends on the bench to bring energy, which is why they're on the bench. So in the case last night, we know our second unit is D Rose, IQ, Alec Burks, and then he'll include Julius in there. Sometimes, part of that second unit, he'll include Julius in there. And then, of course, you have Obi Toppin as well. He's depending on them to bring energy. Now, all of whatever he's playing, his game, Tom Thibodeau's game, is rebounding and defense. So he's expecting you, if you're on the floor, to bring a high level of energy to the defensive end and on the boards. He's expecting that. That's just a basic expectation. If you cannot meet that, you cannot play. Now, what happened last night? Again, and this is not like, at this point, if you're watching the Knicks, you got to see this very clearly, because it's very obvious that the Knicks are gassed at several times of certain games. And you can tell one of the obvious things, or two things that stand out to me that tell me they're gassed, is number one, all of their shots are hitting the front rim. No matter if they're a floater, no matter if it's a jump shot, no matter if it's a three, it's hitting the front rim. It's not too strong. It's not going to the back of the rim or too strong or going over the rim. It's the front of the rim. Or in the case of D Rose last night, it's an unidentified flying object, otherwise known as an air ball. When players are shooting like that, that indicates there's no legs. There's no legs. There's no lift. There's no air under the ball created by the spring of the legs. And almost all of the key players for the Knicks were shooting like that last night. The second area is you become a step slow defensively. you become a step slow. You're a step slow or half a step slow on the rotation. You're a step slow or half a step slow to chase a shooter off the 3-point line. Or even you're backing up to give him room because you're trying to defend against them driving against you, and you don't have the energy to do both, to defend against them driving against you and to close out to get them off the 3-point line. You don't have the energy to do both, so you decide to I'm not going to let him drive, and you give him an open jump shot. That's what was happening last night. For the first time this season, I watched Emmanuel quickly be afraid to put up a shot. Did you notice how many shots he passed up? He was 1 of 12, so he didn't want to shoot the ball. And the reason he was 1 of 12, he had no legs. The young boy has hit, at least last night, he hit a wall. And it's just interesting because it's 30 games into the season, right? And that's normally when college players in their first year in the NBA hit the wall. Why do I say that? Because the college season on the top programs is like 30 games, right? The college season, when you see the Kentucky programs, the North Carolina, the Duke programs, the Florida States, they play 30 games. Sometimes they play up to 35 games because they get deep into the NCAA. So when you see the college players in the NBA get to the 30 game point, a lot of times you see them run out of gas. Now, this is not the end of the world, because this is also the point at which they double down on all of the conditioning they have done, and they get that second win. And all of us, if you've run it, and if you've done any jogging or running in your life, either as an athlete or basketball player or whatever, there's a second win. So, sometimes you got to push through, or somebody got to push you through it. And you get that second win, and you finish the race, right? So this is where Quickly was. I saw it last night. I couldn't believe it. He was passing up shots. He was hesitant. He just wasn't himself. And of course, he was 1 of 12, but a lot of it had to do, he was fatigued, which felt doomed for our team because Tyler was dependent on the second unit to come in there. Julius was carrying the first unit. The first unit was fatigued also, but Julius was carrying them. The first quarter, he scored 17 or something like that. He was carrying the team, as you expect your superstar to do. But even Julius, and the effort was valiant from Julius last night. It was valiant. I don't know how many he scored, but it don't matter. Maybe 28, 29, whatever. It was valiant. He had a valiant effort. I'm very proud of how this kid has made himself into a star, man. I'm very proud of Julius Randle. I'm very happy that he's on our team doing it, And Tom Thibodeau and Kenny Payne, them deserve all the credit in the world for getting the most out of this man. And because he's always had the talent. My problem with Julius, going back to high school, looking at some of his high school tapes, is in high school in that Kentucky, he didn't seem to develop a game. He was able to dominate because if you look, I call him Thanos because you see he got that deep voice. He's a big dude. He's bigger, stronger, faster than most of his peers, right? That's part of the course of a lot of NBA players coming up from kids. They're always bigger, stronger, faster than most of their kids, most of their peers, and even people older than them when they're coming up. So that he was using that from high school through Kentucky to just dominate because nobody was as strong or as fast as he is. Even in the pros, as I mentioned earlier, you can double or triple him and he'll commit a turnover. But if you get Julius Randle one-on-one on a low block with anybody, nobody can stop him. It's very hard because he's bigger, stronger, and faster. But now he plays defense. He's learned how to pass. He's developed a jump shot. His IQ is all of a sudden awakened. He's a new guy. So last night, his effort was valiant. First quarter, he was carrying us, which was not a good sign because he wasn't getting a lot of help. See, he's at the stage right now is if EP is doing his thing, if RJ is doing his thing, right, he'll pass you the ball. He's not determined he's not after stats right now. He's passing you the ball. But for him to have to score 17 to carry was not a good sign. But that I wasn't as concerned when the second unit came in. See, I started catching the game after the first quarter. When the second unit, I saw the second unit come in. I saw the first unit dying out, and I said, okay, it's cool. Here come IQ, here come D Rose, here come Burks. They're gonna really lift us up. And I saw D Rose was just out of sync, man. And then my man IQ didn't have no legs. He just didn't have any legs. He just did not. Now, Burks was playing his regular game, which is sometimes a little bonehead, but then sometimes he hit a couple of threes. He started coming off at the end. But, you know, and again, of course, we know Vucevic, Fournier, and Terrence Ross. We've always said, I told you that before, they are always Nick killers on Orlando. In times past, we know teams that have Nick killers on. That means, they may be all right against other teams, but against the Knicks, they become all-star. And Terrence Ross is a notorious Nick killer. He scored 30 last night off the bench. Okay? And so we knew that was coming. They did a good job on Vucevic, even though he had 16 points, 16 boards still. And they did a pretty good job on Evan Fournier before the bottom fell out in the fourth quarter, and it was just a collapse because they just had no legs left. Zero. Okay. But Thibodeau stuck with his regular rotations. He's not going to panic. It's because, they don't have legs. He knows in his heart they're tired, but he's not letting them have that excuse. So IQ, D Rose, Burks, Bullock, they just didn't have it. They just didn't have the legs. And you sometimes you can predict when it's going to happen, and sometimes you can't. Like if it's 3 games and 4 nights, there's going to be a game where they're going to run out of gas. But this game right here, they played Monday night, right? And then they had a game Wednesday, so they played at home on Monday. They probably traveled Monday night or Tuesday, got in Orlando. So you figure they had some rest, but they looked like they had just played 2 back-to-backs in a row. That's what they looked like. So the good thing now is that the San Antonio game has been postponed. So today is Thursday. They got today. They're back in New York today. So they got today, tomorrow, and Saturday. And then they play Sunday against Minnesota. This is a good situation for the Knicks because it gives them a chance to get a breather, to recover, and to be ready against Minnesota on Sunday. Okay, to come out with energy. Again, we've talked about this ad nauseum, and so has Tom, but we need 48 minutes of good basketball, right? So yesterday we played 12 minutes of good basketball. That's all. And that's why we got beat. Played 12 minutes. The Knicks, at this particular juncture of our development, obviously are one of the worst offensive teams in the NBA. We know that. Okay? But they're also one of the best defensive teams. And so the scheme, the plan that we have to win games is our defense and our rebound, our toughness keeps us in games, and we want just enough offense to win. And generally between Randle, RJ, and Obi, and now D Rose, you can add him to that mix. And then sometimes you get, Burks and Reggie. You want two of those guys to pop off. So you got just enough offense to win the game. You're consistently looking at Randle as your star. And then you're looking at these other 4 guys, whether it be Obi, Quickly, Rose, Bullock, or Burks. You're looking for a couple of other ones to give you that support. If Peyton comes off, it's a wrap, because if Peyton is going aggressively to the hole, that's a wrap now. Because now we got the point guard, he's a threat, and that opens it up for everybody. But last night, generally we're not getting that. Okay, so we only scored 89 points last night. And so we're always bad on offense as far as score. We don't have that right now. And I know some of you want to make a knee-jerk reaction, go trade for this, go trade for that. Blah, blah, blah. This is stage 1 of a year of development. You don't trip and skip steps because you want scoring now. But we talked about free agents yesterday. And we're talking about the offseason where we can acquire shooters. Okay? We might be able to get a Terrence Ross in the summer to replace a Burks. Or we talked about a Gary Trent Jr. We talked about a Josh Hart, a Victor Oladipo, or a Jrue Holiday, who's more than just a shooter. Jrue Holiday's an all-star level player. Okay? So this is where we get the improvements. But you got to play this season out. Go as hard as you can and as far as you can with the crew that you have. You decide who your cornerstones are at the end of the season. Now we're projecting right now. So I'm telling y'all, Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, and IQ are cornerstones. And somebody mentioned, which is correct, I neglected to mention Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin is, to me, still, I'm not saying he's not a cornerstone, but he's not developed it yet. You got to commit to him, though. So I'm saying he's a guy we got to commit to. We just drafted him, so we got to commit to him. He's a New York kid. He wants to be here. He's excited to be here. He's doing everything you're asking him to do. He's trying his best. You got to give him his rookie contract. So let him play. Right? So we say Obi going forward. Then, of course, the question marks, Frank Ntilikina and Kevin Knox. We don't know what's going to happen with them. And it's just why I'm not including them at this point. Even though, like I said, I repeatedly say Frank is my favorite Knick. I love his game. I see potential. I don't see he's gotten a chance to stretch his legs out completely in New York, and it may have to be somewhere else. We'll find out. But aside from Knox and Frank, those other cats, RJ, Julius, Obi, IQ, and who am I missing now? RJ, Obi, Julius, IQ, who am I missing? Mitchell Robinson. Those are the guys we got. We know I'm projection that over the summer, the Knicks are going to take these guys off the table. Whatever moves they make, anybody can be included. Draft picks can be included, but these guys cannot be included. Okay? These guys cannot be included. When you're a team that's building a winning culture for long-term sustainable winning, that's what you do. You take guys off the table. You don't say I could trade anybody at any time, even though you technically can. You want to build. And you want to build through your system that you're creating. The Knicks have created a system with Tom and his coaching staff. And that culture started with Leon Rose and to a lesser extent, Scott Perry. And that started when Mr. Dolan said, I'm going to hire Leon Rose. I'm going to give him the keys to this thing. And that's how it's been running. So Scott Perry decided we're going to bring on a tough defensive minded coach. We're going to bring him assistants that's going to develop talent. You're building a culture. You're building a system like Miami has. You know what you're getting with Miami Heat. You're always going to get defense. They're always going to have people in shape when they come, and they're always going to come to play. San Antonio, they're going to play basketball the right way. The ball is going to move. That's San Antonio's trademark. They play offensive basketball the right way. Spacing, ball movement, body movement, off-ball movement. Okay? Miami, defense. You know you're going to get defense. You coming into Miami. You know you're going to have to learn how to play that side of the ball. That's culture. That's system. That's development. The Knicks are now, for the first time since the 90s, since the early 2000s, the last time they had this type of consistent culture, Jeff Van Gundy was on the sideline with Marcus Camby, with Sprewell, with Larry Johnson. That was the last time they really had that. Okay, before that with Pat Riley and Patrick Ewing in them. They haven't had a consistent culture in 20 years. So now you got it. You don't mess it up with no NBA 2K knucklehead moves. This year, so we are short shooters. So we have to make sure, though, we develop the foundation of defense and rebounding and toughness. This is how it started. Over the course of the season, we go back, we evaluate what we got. We evaluate who our cornerstones are, and I just named them. Then you say, okay, what can we do to build on these cornerstones? What can we do to put around them? And I'm telling y'all, we did the video yesterday. What do we need? Shooting. We need players that can shoot the basketball, hit an open shot, and play solid defense. We talked about Jrue Holiday, Victor Oladipo. We talked about Gary Trent Jr. And we talked about Josh Hart as the 4 targets that I'm thinking in my mind would fit best in this scenario. Okay, that's what fit best. Then as draft targets, we don't need 10 draft picks now. We don't, because we've just developed Mitchell Robinson. Kristaps Porzingis turned into a 26-year-old star now, burgeoning on superstar named Julius Randle. We just got IQ in the 25th pick. We got Obi with the 8th pick. We picked a 2nd rounder 3 years ago named Mitchell Robinson. And he's now all NBA defensive potential. That's where he's at. So y'all need to stop looking at stats in NBA 2K and watch the daggone game. Some of you talking about, we can't pay Mitchell Robinson. He only averages 8 points a game. Stop. There are players that impact the game more than just their scoring. Mitchell Robinson is one of those players. Okay? He impacts the game more than what you see on the stat sheet in NBA 2K. He's a championship piece. What he's able to do on the floor defensively, sometimes you can't even teach the ground that this kid can cover. With the length he has, you can't even teach that. Some of you are just stupid when it comes to basketball. But anyway, sorry to use that term. It's just frustrating. But anyway, you got your cornerstones. You build around them. So you see if you can get some pieces that you can plug in, bring your team to the next level. Okay, so with regard to draft picks, we got all kinds of draft picks now, right? So like, if we can turn the two that we got this year and the one we got from Dallas in so we got two from Dallas. We got a Dallas pick 2021. We got a Dallas pick 2023, right? That's two picks. And we got our own pick 2021, right? If we could turn them three picks into Cade Cunningham or Jalen Suggs, I'd do that. Because now our 2021, let's say, is Cade Cunningham. We still got our 2022 and we still got our own 2023. We're not really losing anything. Okay? And we've given up 3 draft picks that we've acquired to get this kid. That's a game changer. Either Suggs or Cunningham. That kid will not start next year. He's going to learn the Thibodeau system of tough defense and IQ. He's going to play behind IQ. And hopefully we pick up a Victor Oladipo or a Jrue Holiday or a Gary Trent Jr. or a Josh Hart to play alongside IQ. We still have a D Rose coming off the bench with the rookie, just like IQ is this year, right? See, now we have something. Okay, we've improved. Then you got the improvement that Julius is going to make, that Mitchell is going to make, that RJ is going to make, that Obi is going to make over the next 12 months. With this staff, with their determination, which they've all showed the willingness to do. That's how you build a champion, a long-term sustainable. So this game against the Magic, hey, we didn't have the gas, man. We depended on the second unit to bring us that. They didn't have the gas. Okay, they didn't have it. So we lost the game to an NBA team. That's going to happen. We wanted to be 500. Okay, it's not yet. But we coming. Don't worry. We coming. We coming. So they get some time to rest. They're going to obviously look at film. And I think at this point of the season, don't need to look at too much film to understand what went wrong yesterday. They really need to drink that Gatorade or coffee or whatever they need to do. Get that energy back. Get them legs back. Soak in that tub of ice or whatever. Get your wind back. It's time for IQ to recognize you're not in college no more, son. You're in the league now. Now you're past 30 games. Let's get that second win. Okay, that's what we're going to need to see. And they got 4 days to get it right. Plenty of time in the NBA. Plenty of time. Okay, so they got Minnesota on Sunday. They're getting prepared. We lost the game against Orlando. That game is done. We're not looking to make no trades. You know, yes, Terrence Ross went off against us. That don't mean we trade for him at the deadline. Stop reacting. Stop reacting. We could wait till the off season. Keep the crew we got. Keep the crew we got. We got Burks. You know, they committed to Burks and they committed to Bullock for 1 year. They committed to Nerlens Noel for 1 year. Now they're used to playing together. We're building. We're building slowly and the right way. Let's keep doing it. Next up, Minnesota. Shalom.